Quabbin Reservoir defines this part of the state from which it takes its name. Athol resident J.R. Greene, a local historian and the author of 16 books on the Quabbin, tells us the history of how the Quabbin came to be and why this piece of state history is important for future generations.
Well, it is the next to the last and largest chapter in the history of metropolitan Boston's water supply. And it was built in the 1920s and 30s and filled in 1946. 38.5 square mile reservoir, that's 25,000 acres, and they own an additional 55,000 acres of land around it for watershed protection. And it serves Chicopee, Wilbraham, and South Hadley for drinking water, as well as 60-odd communities in and around Boston. And of course, in building it, 4 whole towns and parts of 7 others were displaced in order to build this, and the territory was assigned to other adjoining towns such as New Salem and Petersham, where we are here. But it's kind of a special place to a lot of people, not only because of what it represents, but the fact that there are still a few people and many descendants of them who are alive, who live in the area, the towns around the reservoir, and of course view the memory of it as the towns as being very important, and also they're very zealous of what goes on there or what people want to do there or anything like that. And it's also sort of a magnet for what I call the western part of central Massachusetts here. And obviously it's given its name to a number of things. The high school in Barre is called Quabbin Regional. The Athol Orange area north of the Quabbin has adopted the moniker North Quabbin as a promotional tool, which is probably very good because it's the one thing in the area that anybody knows about the area, knows where it is. It's Quabbin Reservoir.
Tell us about the towns. It was Prescott, Enfield, Dana, and Greenwich?
Greenwich.
Greenwich.
Yes, we're not in New York, Connecticut, or the prime meridian of London. They pronounced it Greenwich, these people. Yeah. There were 4 relatively small towns. Enfield is the largest at about 1,000 people during most of its existence. And of course, they got town councils or town lawyers to represent them at hearings and things like that. But again, in Massachusetts, Boston runs the whole show, and they wanted this for their area's water supply, and they got it, and the people had to move out. One thing a lot of people don't realize is this was not the 1980s or 90s. There was no job or housing relocation assistance. You were given an offer for your property. If you accepted it, you had to pay to move out, and you had to find a new place to live. If you lost your job, you had to find a new job. So this sort of thing was very highly resented by people out here, and it's part of many things dating way back to Shays' Rebellion 230 years ago, where we have Western and Central Mass versus the Boston area. As someone once termed it, intrastate colonialism. So that's always kind of in the background here when you talk to people from this part of the state in regard to Boston. Quabbin is just one of the more blatant examples of that, the intrastate colonialism.
And how did they move buildings? Did they move certain buildings and preserve certain parts of the town?
Some people did move buildings. Some contractors moved buildings. There are a lot more parts and pieces of buildings from the valley relocated to other places than there are actual buildings. A lot of the buildings were just bulldozed into the cellar holes or burned down or whatever. They cut down all the trees in the flow area. So people have this assumption there's a big Atlantis. There's not. You can't go diving in there anyway, but there's stone walls, there's roads, there's tree stumps, that sort of thing. That's about it. People wonder what life was like there. Not much different than many of the other small towns in the area, like Petersham here, for instance. But the fact that you can't see the physical evidence of it gives people sort of a romantic interest in the area.
Why is it important to remember this part of our history in Massachusetts?
Well, I think there are several things to realize here. A, the power of the state to destroy a large area of land for the benefit of one particular part of the state. We wouldn't really want to see that sort of thing happen again, if possible. Number 2, just the fact that we should respect the memory of the people who lived in these places and had to make great sacrifices when they were forcibly removed from them. And I also think there's a lot of not only the history but the environmental aspects. The Quabbin Reservoir is a very different environment than what was there in the valley. And some people enjoy it by fishing there, but bird watching and various other sorts of passive recreational activities. It's the largest single piece of real estate in Massachusetts. And because it's not that far from places like Springfield or Worcester, a lot of people do come and visit it every year.
So you are from Athol, and you've stayed in this area. Why did you stay?
Well, as a lifelong resident of Athol, I find the environment, which has always interested me, to be a pretty good one. We've got lots of places to hike and carry out outdoor activities. It's not too big a place, it's not too small a place.
Okay, so J.R. Greene, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this history with us.
Thank you.